Ladies and gentlemen, this is your final boarding call for the good ship SS Tomorrow.
Today on The Friendly Futurist, turning AI into an upright citizen. And welcome back. And today we've got a very special guest. We've got Peter Swimm from Toilville, and we're going to talk about an interesting project about applying ethics into AI as a means to help humanity, not to replace humanity. This is part of an ongoing conversation that we need to have. And it really is fascinating, but just remember, we probably are training AI wrong, and we need to have this conversation about how to train it right. But also, I think we're getting to a point now that AI seems to be ubiquitous and it seems to be everywhere. And yeah, Peter is coming up after this break. And welcome back to another episode. Today we've got Peter Swimm. He's from Toilville, and we're talking all things about ethics and AI. And it's a very interesting project. And Peter, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And with all my guests, can you please just give us a quick rundown on your journey so far and start wherever you want to start?
Sure. I've been in tech about 20, 25 years now, and I started out kind of like as entry level as you can get. And for the last 10 years or so, I've been working in conversational AI. So AI is very much of the moment and all that. And it's a very interesting time to be in the space as we start bringing a lot of these tools to conversational interfaces and things like that. So,
yeah, interesting. And for those who don't know, can you just give us what is Toilville and what is its mission?
Sure. Toilville is a consultancy that helps small and large businesses build conversational AI solutions. And when I say conversational AI, I want people to start thinking about, like, when you're talking on the phone to the bank and you're talking to a robot or a chatbot on the website, or, areas that you are using natural language to make computer stuff happen. It's basically the things I help companies build and make sure that they don't stink and that they work like they're supposed to and they're not a worse experience than people are used to. So
really it's just like a smart chatbot.
That's right. And chatbots been around for almost 20, 30 years now. And most people hate them for good reason, because they're just, you've heard your grandparents and your dad yelling at the phone saying, I said 9. I said cancel. And I think we're kind of getting to the point where they're actually sort of useful and helpful. And of course, they're trying to make them do even more things than that. So it's a very interesting time to preaching tolerance of the limitations of these things and still keeping people in the loop, because, the capitalists want to just take the ball and run with it and automate the entire world and just print money. So,
yeah. And I also say to my students too, you shot my run from 9 to 5, but your customer might buy a product at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's
yeah, for sure. There's a lot of interesting social questions about doing these things, but I think the things that make me get up in the morning and the things that I believe to be true are that using technology to augment human experience is super important and crucial for us to kind of make it through the next 15, 20 years of technology, because frankly, I am personally overwhelmed by all the pace of news and media and keeping up on my email and all that. And to operate the speed of what, business and life is at, we need better tools. We need better tools to help us do that.
Yeah, of course. And probably one burning question, and it's often asked by listeners, how much has our working lives changed from your perspective since you're working at the coalface with artificial intelligence since the ascendancy of Gen AI in 2022?
I feel like we haven't seen the killer apps yet. We haven't seen the things that the iPhone moment where like, oh, I'm going to take this phone literally everywhere with me and it's going to be part of my life. And I think the reason we haven't seen that is because these tools haven't become a part of our life to a point of being indispensable. And the reason they're not indispensable is because they make a lot of mistakes and they're expensive and they get a lot of things wrong. And there's a lot of research showing that like it causes more work than it prevents, So I think we're really waiting for that kind of like killer app. And ChatGPT was like a preview of that. But as people get into like using ChatGPT at scale and using things in a product way, they run into a lot of problems because it doesn't do everything that it says it could do on the tin,
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's getting a bit gimmicky. It seems to be like it's everywhere, Even my phone, I just press a button on the side and it pops up where I don't want it to pop up. I think that's another problem too.
Yeah. And I think like you're also seeing a lot of products that are perfectly fine that are trying to slap in AI in a like, naive way and making their products worse. Like they're like, oh, I really enjoyed this product for years. And now they added an AI feature and it stinks and it's slow and introduced all these problems in my workflow. And it's actually the opposite of what I wanted it to happen, in terms of like improving my processes and all that. So,
yeah. And can we actually build an ethical AI? Can we make it, well, because I think at the moment with ChatGPT, it's just like it's been raised on the rough streets where can we actually make it more outstanding? Can we make it more have better manners or better, better moral backbone?
No, I wouldn't want to live next to a person raised entirely on Reddit and Wikipedia comments. That is not, there is definitely like a question of where they came from and what they know and how they come to the conclusions that these companies are keeping like as proprietary technology that is like useful to know, right? Like I apply for a job and I have to give them my entire list of what I've been doing for the last 25 years. But when you hire an agent to do a job, you don't know where it came from, right? Like they could have trained it ethically or unethically, and you don't know what it has and all that. So I think we're going to start to see the need for like on the back of the cereal box that has all the ingredients, you're going to need to find out what's in the model and where it comes from and what it does. And you're going to have to provide scores on things like bias and languages that it supports and countries that it services. And all that is going to have to become very transparent and viewable to people. And you're probably like, if I had to go in my crystal ball, I feel like everyone's going to be their own judge of their model that they reflects their views and their ethics and what they want to do. And then they're going to have to interact with various models of quality, and you may say like, I'm only going to work with Microsoft's models because they say they do all this to prevent racism and bias and speech and hate speech and all that. And then the other person might say, I'm only going to work with Grok or whatever because it doesn't do that, And I think you're going to have a very like interesting spectrum of tooling that like if company X is in a country where they deny the rights of people to exist and that's who's making the model and you're talking to a model where that is a law that you can't break. Will they prevent those models from talking to each other? Are we gonna like see like China only, United States only, Russia only models? And all of this is kind of just playing out in real time. So it's very hard for my clients and businesses to like pick a side and invest in things and like find out like what's the safe way to do because there's so many questions out there.
Yeah. Actually, I saw a video the other day of someone smuggling off an actual cell phone from North Korea. And it's got the AI there. And if you put in some like for the word oppa, which is like a Korean for boyfriend, girlfriend, it's a slang word for South Korea, but it actually put up a warning saying, I hope this means sibling, because that's what it also means in North Korea. And then it takes a screenshot of what you typed in. So I think I
mean, like cultural norms are very important with these things. And that's like the whole problem with conversational AI is like a word that is like normal in my country, maybe a slang for something, offensive in your country, because it's just like, there's hundreds of languages in the world and there's different regions and, like it's all very hard to do. So when someone says they're making a model that could talk every language and work in every use case, you should be very skeptical of it, right? Because that's an incredibly hard effort. If you want to do one-to-one model of the world, it's very difficult to like even conceive of like what is the moderate perspective of a model to serve the entire world, right? Because we can't even agree on that. We have 180 countries because we can't agree on being one thing. So,
and also I guess too is just who's programming it. All comes down to yeah.
And I think like that is kind of like the heart of the matter is, you're really talking about like freedom and justice and autonomy. Like a model. You start out with building a model for like booking your flights, and all of a sudden you're dealing with these heavy social issues, and a lot of companies aren't set up to like evaluate that. That like they don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like these hardcore philosophical questions. And so I think there is like a lot of like interest in letting the big tech companies do it. But then, we need to have some sort of like who watches the Watchmen scenario with them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if I'm not going to build it and I'm going to buy it from Google and the Microsofts of the world, how do I know how they're doing it? Because there's ethics and there's law, right?
Yeah.
And so there's companies that want to like be legally compliant in all the countries they live in, but also reflect the values of their company and the things they say, like the don't be evil, mandate that they do their shareholders and all that too. So these are all the things I help my clients with at Toilville. It's just kind of like you need to like basically draw a line in the sand of like what you'll do and what you won't do. And then you can start playing with these tools, because then you'll be able to measure them and understand like, oh, that's bad or that's not preferable, but it's acceptable. And I think the technology will be not super responsive and like you won't be a perfect fit on these things for many years still to come. And so you have to kind of decide on what you feel it's safe enough to use it with and how you're going to use it and be transparent on how you're using it.
Yeah. And of course, set the guardrails in it.
Yeah. Like, I can have AI agents do like level 1 support, but I won't let them do level 3 support, right? Because that is dealing with sensitive issues or, payments or big customers or whatever. So you basically like, you list all your problems on a row and you say, okay, it'll handle these first 7 problems, right? And these other 95 problems, I'm still going to need people and do the work and all that stuff.
Yep. Now, this is another question I often get asked from listeners, and I think you might lightly touch on it before, but are they really going to take our jobs, or are we going to work sort of like in tandem with them?
And there are certainly people in the C-level of every company that see dollar signs and see like, okay, I'm going to make money without people. I'm going to just print money. And I think those people are fools, right? There's things that are just like the human brain is the best pattern matching computer on the planet.
Yeah.
The youngest person on the planet is better than any computer that's ever existed. Like the average baby's smarter than any AI that's ever been made. And there's going to be always a case where if a computer can't be held accountable for its decisions, it shouldn't be allowed to make decisions, And so there's going to be a person that is going to be able to view and measure these things and decide. And it may even be like, you may just have like people that all they are deciders, right? And so the AI serves up all the information like a judge in a court and presents the evidence and they pick A or B. That to me is kind of a boring life. I'd like to do work. I like figuring out problems.
Yeah.
And so the AI future I really want to see is like, imagine AI is like, you look at your phone every day and you decide what to do. You look at your email and you look at your calendar and you look at the news and you decide, okay, I got to take care of these problems in this order. And I think AI is going to like serve these things to you on a platter and you'll be able to make smarter decisions and then get back to the work that actually takes like ingenuity and craftsmanship and offering. And AI is going to be there like your Mr. Smithers, your Mr. Burns, And I think like that is the only thing of the Iron Man Marvel movie AI thing that I really like is here's a bunch of work that has to happen. I'm going to assign it to the AI to do the work while I like have a good think, and then it's going to give me the results. And then I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to try this thing and it's going to help me build it. But I think like if AI is just, arbitrating stuff and there's not enough work for people to do in these scenarios, I think there's going to be kind of diminishing returns. Like I think the ingenuity of humans is something we don't really measure well as a society. Like you've ever been working the phones trying to get something fixed at a company and you find the woman or the man who's been there for 40 years and knows all the secrets It knows how to like get you hooked up and fixed. I think those people are always going to have to exist because no one ever makes a perfect system, right? And like the AI only works if the system is like perfect and ethical and righteous. And there's always going to be people that you can like escalate to or jump in to fix things that gone off the rails. So I think like there's a lot of people, business owners and capitalists that want to like imagine a world without workers. But I think humans produce work and they also produce the need for work. And I think there always going to be, the need for human ingenuity and thinking in all these systems.
Yeah, and of course, I think it's all about soft skills, and I'd probably even see it. I've covered before as well. Potentially, if you're looking at the C-suite, have a chief AI officer.
Yeah, there's people that just like, instead of spending all this money to make a person who is like intake nurse, why not just have an intake nurse? And the AI sits next to them, and instead of like typing everything in your computer, the nurse can like look at you and have a conversation, and the AI can like just transcribe the meeting.
Yeah,
like that is a great outcome because she is free, or he or her are free to like do their work and what they're good at, and the person feels like they're really being taken care of. But then all the forms get filled and all the things get submitted, and these are like things that like AI can do that don't replace human experience, but they augment human experience, and they kind of like free you up to be more human. So those are the kind of things really scenarios I like to like talk. Like I helped a client; they were building a triage for a vet office. Right. So people have questions about their pets. They're not experts. They don't want to go online, and you can kind of talk to an assistant and find out if you need to bring the vet in for a checkup or not, or if you need to go to the ER. Those are things like that can happen alongside the nurse. So the nurse can just be talking to the person, and the little AI bot's listening on the call and putting notes for her and her script. It's like, so when she gets you on the call, she knows she's looking at a picture of the pet. She's knows the weights, can see the last couple of visits, knows what prescriptions the pet is on. And now you're getting the information collected by the AI while the nurse is doing your triage. And that's super powerful to me. That is just like the best application of the technology where the nurse can focus on the soft skills, and the diagnosis and the note taking is done automatically in the background. So it just makes everyone more efficient, more compliant, and more auditable. And so these are kind of the things I think are the winning scenarios with this technology.
Yeah, fantastic. I actually even asked my next question, because I used to like to get my guests going into the future, but I think we've really answered that. So, is there anything I didn't ask but should?
I kind of like tease about this, but I think it's really important that people are aware of like the data sharing that people give to these tools and how they work with the systems that they engage in. And I think that's going to become super important. Like Apple's announced that they are going to do models that live on your phone, which I think is a natural place for all my personal information to be, not on Microsoft's computer, but on my computer.
Yeah.
And like, I think we're going to see this growing sense of like, I'm going to be engaged in a business relationship with McDonald's to order a cheeseburger, and they don't need to know everything about me. They just need to know I want a cheeseburger, and I have the, £10 $10 to buy the burger, and that's all that. And I think the problem with the web today, and I think you see with all these mobile apps, is they've gotten really data hungry, and like people are tracking down people via commercial data that they could buy from Bluetooth signaling pings and all that. And I think this is a really good opportunity to reset the privacy contract with people, where they can understand like, okay, my phone is my wallet, it's my identity, and I will share it and revoke it at will. That's the kind of things that I'm trying to prepare my clients for, that kind of eventuality of just like, it's one thing to make a chatbot that is heavily in the interest of the company or heavily in the interest of the client. But I think there's going to be a tension to build these tools in the future that is just like serving both clients and customers and employees and corporations. So there needs to be a kind of a reset of the contract for these to work the way they're supposed to.
Yep. Good. And before we wrap things up, Peter, where else can we find you?
Yeah, you can check us out. Our website is itstoilville.com. That's ITSTOILVILLE.com. We host office hours. So that's every Wednesday on LinkedIn and Twitch. You can come and ask us questions about your business. And of course, we're happy to help anyone. So feel free to give us contact.
We'll do. Make sure those in the show notes. Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you this morning.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening. The Friendly Futurist is a Podcast West production and has been produced and edited by me, Dave Monk. If you love this show, please leave us a 5-star review on your favourite platform. That way it can help me grow. Until next time, friends, remember to stay curious and the future is user-friendly.
Another Podcasts West production.
This podcast is just for educational purposes and it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial planner or advisor. Please do your homework and seek professional help before you take on any adventures.